Hey gang, it's JC, and this is the Daily Dose for Tuesday, January 17th, 2012. Combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Clayton. Great television archives, top of the page. Punch around all over this website. I worked really hard on it to put all sorts of cool stuff all over the place. Great television archives, old television commercials, old television pieces that I did going all the way back to the Channel 5 days in the 1980s. All sorts of cool stuff. Just punch around all over the place and you'll find lots of cool stuff. Everybody's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed here today. Could you believe the storms and the wind and the hail and the tornado sirens and now the cold, but it's supposed to be 60 degrees again on Sunday. Cardinals are at the White House today. Jeff Fisher gets formally introduced to the St. Louis sports fans at a 1 o'clock press conference today. We'll be carrying that. We're going to find out maybe why he chose St. Louis over Miami. It seemed to be sort of an easy decision for a lot of people, but I guess we'll find out the truth. And if all of this weather and all these conditions and all this sort of stuff are bugging you, just keep in mind only 54 more days until daylight savings time, and we're only about a month before pitchers and catchers report with their new manager, Mike Matheny, down at Jupiter, Florida. All right, rock and roll poll question from yesterday, the big debate. What do you do about these American soldiers who were whizzing on these dead Taliban guys? Number one answer, this was almost evenly spread. 32% of you said they should face formal disciplinary action, but nothing severe. That's 32%. But 28% of you said war is ugly business and you can't blame them if their emotions get out of hand. Another 20% said they should be court-martialed because of the damage that it can do overall. You know, you'll light a fire under some of these Muslims overseas, and that's not always a good thing. And another 20% said, if I had the opportunity, I would have liked to whiz on those Taliban guys myself. All right, so we got nowhere. Pretty evenly distributed. Now, we've had a couple of weeks to think about this. And because we have, I just thought this would be fun. What's your take on Herman Cain? All right, he's been dropped out of the race now for a couple of weeks. Here are your choices. A, he's a total ass clown. B, his plan all along was to use the publicity he got from the campaign to increase his future opportunities for TV, radio, speaking engagements, etc. C, C, he was a potentially serious candidate that just got in over his head. D, I liked his message and I wish he was still in the race. Or E, 999. I made a typo there. I got to fix that after we finish recording here. All right, a photograph. Oh, speaking of the campaign, Jon Huntsman dropped out of the race. Supporters knew that Huntsman was in trouble when political experts began describing him as just like John Kerry minus the charisma. And in the latest polls, he was finishing behind Rick Santorum, Rick Perry, and Jerry Sandusky. Mitt Romney gave $66 to a struggling woman who had been following his campaign around. That's funny, I thought Michelle Bachmann dropped out of the race. And a photograph of that crippled luxury cruise boat off the coast of Italy has officially been adopted as the new campaign logo for Newt Gingrich. I was proud of that one. We're not done with Tim Tebow yet, or potentially not done with him. CBS has asked him to do some in-studio analysis during the AFC Championship game between the Patriots and the Ravens on Sunday. They have yet to hear back from him. All right, Ricky Gervais, apparently, he says he's not going to do the Golden Globes anymore, but I don't really think NBC minds because they did almost 17 million people. It almost matched last year's ceremony. This in an era where all of the award show ratings are sinking and sinking miserably, so NBC's got to be happy there. Glee has announced they're going to do a Saturday Night Fever themed episode, and they think that John Travolta may actually do a cameo in that. No date has been announced for that particular show. Speaking of Ricky Gervais, he'll be on Letterman tonight. My guess is that will be very entertaining. These numbers are small, but not small enough. Since 2004, the number of accidents where drivers hit pedestrians wearing headphones has tripled. Now, it's only tripled from 16 to 47, but 70% of those collisions result in death. You just had, who was it, down at the Florida Keys? It was Gene Hackman who was run over by a guy. Gene Hackman was riding his bicycle in the Keys and just driving along. Some guy hit him from behind. I don't know if he was listening on headphones. So, new survey says 60% of us let our dogs lick our faces, that's not a good thing. Don't believe that stuff about a hound's tooth is supposed to be clean. That's a bunch of baloney. There's bacteria in a dog's mouth, and they can make you sick if you let them kiss you. Last week in California, a 31-year-old woman was arrested outside of McDonald's for offering people in the drive-thru sexual favors in exchange for chicken McNuggets. Who knew that would work? She's facing loitering and potentially prostitution charges. Would you like a hot apple pie with that? The FDA has announced last week, well, this whole thing started last week when people started getting sick from orange juice. And some people didn't even get sick, but they were testing the orange juice and found out that there was this bizarre organism inside, so like a fungus inside the orange juice. And people were like, well, how did that happen? And that blew the lid off the big scandal that this Florida orange juice we thought we've been drinking all of our lives increasingly is not coming from Florida. According to the Department of Agriculture, it turns out we import a lot of our food because it's cheaper to make it overseas. USDA says a quarter of our orange juice is imported, and more than 40% of our imported orange juice comes from Brazil, and that's where they've been having the problems with this fungus. There's a fungus among us. Which one is the fungus? Half of our fresh fruit comes from overseas. That amount has doubled in the last 35 years. 85% of our apple juice is imported. Now, most of our seafood is imported. 86% of shrimp, salmon, and tilapia comes from overseas. That's up 30% from 20 years ago. Overall, about 17% of our food is imported. That's up from 5% 20 years ago. So if you want to get all patriotic, drink grapefruit juice because almost all of it is grown right here. Same thing goes for cranberries, which I mentioned, and sweet potatoes, which I don't because I can't stand them. Almost all that stuff is grown right here. All right, we got some birthdays here today. I was going to say, whose birthday is it? Everybody's. Ray J, Brandy's younger brother, he was the guy that made the sex tape with Kim Kardashian, and that's what started all this nonsense. He is 31. Zoe Deschanel, 32. Kid Rock, 41. Jim Carrey, 50. Susanna Hoffs from the Bangles, 53. Larry Fortensky, remember he rented Elizabeth Taylor there for a couple of years. He's 60 today. Muhammad Ali, the greatest, 70. They had a little function for him last night. Maury Povich, 73. James Earl Jones, 81. Did you know that he stutters? He stutters, but for some reason when he's acting and performing and stuff, he doesn't stutter. He's 81 today. Vidal Sassoon, the hair guy, 81. And Betty White, who, this is just an amazing thing to watch, the love that is pouring out of this country towards this woman. They had that show for her last night, and then she debuted her new show, which is basically like an octogenarian candid camera, which my wife was laying in bed half asleep and laughing her ass off at this. I walked in, I was like, well, I can see what your new favorite show is. She's 90 today. And by the way, when the Cardinals are at the White House, hopefully somebody has the presence of mind to wish the First Lady a happy 48th birthday today. We'll see if anybody's smart about that. All right, speaking of baseball, the movie Moneyball, Brad Pitt has been getting its share of awards, nominations and stuff. It's a very good movie. It's Adam Sorkin screenplay, so right there, I mean, it's certainly worth your time. And Brad Pitt gives a great performance. There was some of the casting I was not happy with, and I wasn't thrilled with the story. Jonah Hill gives the performance of his life. Who would have ever guessed that this kid had a performance like this in him? And he's very good at it too. So there's a lot to like about Moneyball, even with its flaws. So we found an outtake from the film in which Brad Pitt keeps blowing the take because he can't stop laughing. I wonder how he would have done in Mike Bush's basement. But this thing goes on for like 3 minutes where he can't stop laughing. So we put that up on JC's Eye Candy. It is right below what you're looking at right now. All right, JC's Rock and Roll poll here today. Now that we've had a few weeks to think about it, what is your take on Herman Cain? Please answer in the corner. We'll have results for you tomorrow. And of course, Trish Gazelle and I are on the air every day from noon till 3 on the Big 550 KTRS, and we'll be carrying that news conference with Jeff Fisher, the new head coach of your St. Louis Rams, at 1 o'clock this afternoon. All right, so there you go. That's it, JC's Daily Dose for, I've forgotten the date. Tuesday, January 17th, 2012. A combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Clayton. And in the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.